Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discussed are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and we're coming to the end of the Marvel Legends Stilt-Man wave. In the last video, we took a look at the Hand Ninja, which I admitted I wasn't really that much looking forward to. On first glance through the box, I really didn't like what I saw, but then once I actually got it out of the box and started playing with it, it was a really cool toy. Today's review is for the new Into the Spider-Verse Prowler, and I gotta tell you, next to Hand Ninja, this is the other one I wasn't that interested in. I love the Prowler in the movie, but at quick glance, I just feel like this is missing the mark. But who knows? Maybe this one will surprise me too. Only one way to find out. Let's take it over the review station and dig in. Since this is my 5th review in this wave, you'll forgive me if I don't go too crazy over the box. Suffice it to say, here's the front, here's the side, here's the other side, and here's the back. Equipped with an armored suit and gadget-filled wrist gauntlets, Prowler pursues his enemies under the cover of darkness. Oh, and do me a favor, pay attention to this picture because it's going to be important later. Here are the other figures we need to complete Stilt-Man, and all we have left is Peter B. Parker. Nice pink background for this one. One quick side note, normally when figures have capes, they have tiny little holes that make you kind of bunch the cape up, but this has a nice wide slit. That's a nice bonus. If you've been watching this wave so far, then this will come as no surprise to you, but for packaging, Prowler gets 1 whole point. So first things first, we need to talk about this head sculpt and how much I don't like it. Compared to this image on the box, it just seems so sad and droopy. I was ready to dock it points, but then I went back and looked at the movie, and yeah, this is kind of how it looked. Moving on to the cape, you can see it actually does have a plug to go into a hole in the back, but for the life of me, I can't get the thing to stay in there, so this cowl just keeps floating around. At first glance, I thought it was just too small, but then again, I went back and looked at the movie, and this is what it looked like. Moving on down, you'll see that Hasbro cut some corners by reusing this torso and upper leg section. I'm pretty sure this is Reed Richards, and I am actually mistaken, it is not Reed Richards. Considering how lanky and baggy Prowler's costume is in the movie, honestly, I think that Reed might have been a better pick, especially as we come down to these legs, which are just way too muscular and way too thick. Looking back at Miles, one of the things that I really appreciated was how they were able to capture the spindly look of his legs. Granted, Prowler's a lot more top heavy, so maybe the physics just didn't work, I don't know. That said, it is painted nicely, and I do like this color scheme. Also, the arms are new along with these gauntlets, and they do look pretty sweet. I really like these glowy bits on his ankle, and also how well the articulation is integrated into the sculpt. You ever see a horror movie where the monster's kept hidden in the shadows, and then at the end of the movie when you finally see it, you're like, wow, that's what I was scared of? I feel like that's what's happened with Prowler. In the movie, he was super scary, and when I saw the action figure, I hated it because I thought it looked kind of lame, but the truth is, with the exception of some body proportions, this is what he looked like in the movie. My problems are not with the figure, they are with the actual design. And so, albeit kind of begrudgingly, for presentation, I'm giving the Prowler 1 whole point. Moving on to posability, the Prowler's head is on a ball joint and a disc hinge. He looks side to side just fine, but because of the way that his head is sculpted and the back of this cape, he cannot look up. Decent amount down though, but absolutely no head tilt. His arms come just above 90 degrees, and he's got no problem rotating them all the way around. Nice little detents in there also to kind of click them in place. No butterfly joint, but he does have a nice bicep cut, double jointed elbows, and my biggest complaint for his articulation, that his hands are only on a disc hinge. No up and down at all. For a character with big claws who primarily attacks people by slashing, this kind of boggles my mind. He does have a good ab crunch though. It allows him to arch this far back and hunch this far forward. Side to side rotation with his swivel waist, and he kicks out that far. Nice thigh cut, and pinless double jointed knees, but they are kind of hindered by all these folds in his pants. Nice boot cut rotation, incredible range hinging up and down, and fantastic ankle pivot. Maybe I'm being overly critical, but the limited head articulation and especially the limited wrist movement is really frustrating. His hands are forever posed like he's going to hold on to something, but he doesn't come with any accessories to hold on to, when really what he needs to be able to do is slash those claws. But instead, I guess he's just going to fist bump you to death. For posability, I'm giving Prowler half a point. Moving on to playability, Prowler comes with absolutely no accessories of his own. Instead, he comes with an extra arm, an interchangeable hand, and a suitcase for Stilt-Man. Even Frog-Man got interchangeable hands, but Prowler, nothing. I mean, you look at these hands and it's obvious that they're designed to hold something, right? Like, if I didn't know better, I would think that they actually designed this to go with a motorcycle that they just didn't make. Although in Hasbro's defense, Frogman's hands are not unique. They were able to reuse them from other figures, so it didn't cost them any new tooling. But still, even if all they did was fan out those fingers, it would have been enough. And that's not to say that there isn't some reuse potential. They could have cast these Boot Blasts in this shade of pink, and that would have worked really well. But while we're on the subject of Frogman, one of my biggest complaints about Frogman was that if you didn't want to complete the BAF, you couldn't even use the ray gun with him. At the very least, Prowler is able to use this briefcase. And if we pop it open, we can see the most unrealistic fake money ever made. 5 points of articulation, keeping it 100/100. Lucky for Prowler, playability is more than just accessories, it's also about how well your figure plays with others. So here he is with the other Spider-Verse characters we've reviewed so far. And you know what? Despite his shortcomings, he does blend in just fine. Putting him with Miles in particular looks really good, and if you've seen the movie, well, you know. And here he is side by side with the comic book version of Prowler, and if I'm being completely honest, I've never been all that crazy about this figure either. Mainly, I just can't stand these droopy ankle bracelet things. But at least they gave him properly splayed out claws and wrist articulation. That said, seeing the two of them side by side does give me an idea. It's not 100%, but it's a lot closer. Throw on the comic book cape, and honestly, I kinda like this better than either two of the individual figures. And as an updated high-tech look, I think it would actually fit pretty well with your comic book collection. Would still need to do something about those claws though. But at the end of the day, if the most fun I have with a figure is swapping its parts out with other figures, well, that does tell you something. And what it says isn't that good. For playability, I'm giving this Prowler half a point. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. If you want to complete your Spider-Verse collection, he is a necessity. But if all you want are the Build-A-Figure pieces, well, there's really not much else for you here. For what you're getting, I kind of feel like $20 to $25 is a little bit steep. Definitely get him, but if you can, get him on sale. For price, the Prowler gets half a point for a grand total of 3.5 out of 5. I bet that some of you who've been watching my videos are kind of surprised that I scored a figure this low, but if I do, please know that I do really mean it. Prowler was one of the coolest parts of Spider-Verse. Honestly, one of the scariest animated characters I've seen in a long time. And again, that's to say nothing about the emotional wallop that he packed. Mixed in with the rest of your Spider-Verse figures, he's gonna look fine, but honestly, for as cool as he was in the movie, just fine just isn't good enough. But on the plus side, there's only one figure left to look at before Stilt-Man, Peter B. Parker. And I'm really excited about this one. I have a feeling I'm going to be impressed. Come back next time and find out, but until then, do me a favor, check out some of my other videos. While you're at it, like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole, and don't forget to like my new Facebook page. You'll find it down in the description. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, have fun.